Hi everyone, today in this video we're going to develop another mental model that can be useful for you since mental models are representations about all the reality world, and as much more you grasp them, so higher is the probability of you getting what you want. And what do you want? I think what everybody tends to want is prosperity. What is the field that you want to get that prosperity? That may vary a bit, but in whatever is the field that you're working is, so we're talking more in a professional life, but you also can look for relationships, families, success. You also gonna have to rely on the actions that you take, and this obviously so it requires a prior type of decision making to select so what's going to be the actions that you're going to take and the ones that you will not. But then so obviously for that, what could be something helpful for decision making? What's like the ultimate goal of developing decision making? Decision making is so the process that by all the hypotheses of action that you have it, you're just gonna select one of them. And then so what are you trying to target? The right actions that you should take. And probably is like information. And like what's the best way to grasp information? Looking if it's already some type of existence of that information. So if exists people that have tried to do certain things and what they've been shown as a result for them. It's the best way so to gain knowledge and to improve your decision making without relying in just like be a try and see so what's the feedback that you get. You could so already see what other ones have tested and so puts them as your principles, as your rules to your life, what other ones have so dig. But then, so what's the mental model today that I would like so to transmit to you to improve your decision making? It's a one that's taken from history, so it's a thing that helps you to understand better the external environment that you are. So, what's the core idea of this mental model that's called the C.H.E.S.S framework? And what's like the C.H.E.S.S means? Context, humans, events, systems, and shifts. So, what's the core idea? History so isn't a random series of events, it's a complex game of five interconnected dimensions. So using this chess model to decode patterns, avoid anacronyms, and predict consequences. But then so how it works. So what we need to develop better to understand it. So first, the first letter, the C, the context, the board. So what it is, it's the invisible rules defining what is possible in a era, like geography, the technology, the climate, the geologies. So it's the context that you always have to understand, and this is tends to limit what you can do or not. What could be good examples of that? We have the French Revolution that happened because of context. Post-war debt, Enlightenment ideas, and the mini ice age that caused crop failures. So the context always stimulates you to do certain type of actions and not do other ones. And so they kind of are rule makers. They make rules. They make things being more prone to some other ones to have prosperity while other ones cannot. So it's like you have to get the tools, but you as well rely a lot in the context that you are. So for amplify what's the skills that you are, or in the completely opposite, you can be so skilled in something, but if the context doesn't want what you're trying to provide, if it doesn't help you to so produce what you have as a quality, doesn't so match and doesn't have that much of value you having that quality if the context don't so help you. So it's important to understand how is the context. So the way that as well, mainly they create rules that define what's possible, what is so things that are incentivized or not. What's the second letter? The letter, obviously, it's the humans, and they represent the pound. So, what is the individuals and groups with unique motivations like ambition, fear, ideology, survival? What's our like example? So, we have a guy that everyone knows, not for the good reasons. So, the guy with the the guy from Germany from the last century that was he has accountability from one of the bad things that happened in the last century. But why this figure, this German figure, has so emerged uh, in that specific scenario. So it didn't emerge from vacuum. So it was propelled by desperate humans. So it was selected by the people in Germany post the 29 unemployment that has happened in that country, and industrial elites who supported him to avoid communism. And then so that specific figure was so emerged to that position. And the reality is that obviously it was a revolution. What it was created after that, what were the reactions, the evolutions in the world. The reality is that the pattern that you have to take is that the revolution often starts with ignored pawns, like peasant workers rising against elites. It's like the tendency is always people having and selecting figures that certain times they want them because they're populist. They seem to be persons that defend the majority of the population against the elite, what we call as the populism today, and then so they rise, and normally they always supported by the pounds, the majority, even if they're not the much powerful as the elites like a king in a chess game. The reality is that they have the power of numbers and they have the ability to select people that they want, and obviously so they can determine what's going to be the context for future generations. For example, we have third, the events, the moves. What is so the visible triggers like wars, strategies, discoveries that are symptoms, not root causes. Example is the World War One. So like in 1914 was sparked by Franz Ferdinand's assassination event, but the real causes were secret alliance and imperialism systems. So we will have events that are triggers to so make things happen, but we cannot fall in the beast to think that these events are so the only and main reasons for so what happens after them. And you cannot think that just because the Franz Ferdinand assassination that has triggered the World War. No, was a kind of a heading of all contexts that were existing, and so more root causes that we have to think more and not just what seems to be the thing that's more type of easy to explain and to say that was a trigger. Normally it's more deep and we have to develop a bit better so that these events are just triggers, not the main causes. We have for the systems, rules, what is so structures shaping power, economies, religions, and so the social hierarchies. So what are the example? The Roman Empire lasted centuries, not just to do armies, but systems, roads to move troops, taxes to fund them, and citizenship to simulate conquered people. So the pattern is rich systems like the feudalism collapse when they fail to adapt, like the Black Death labor shortage that so created the hand of serfdom. So what is important to understand? The systems, they structure and shape the power and obviously so the economies. We have as well the religions are a type of system. They systematically produce people that have certain type of laws that they perceive something as bad, and obviously so it constructs the way that society is, and so it's as well important. And another element, and the last one, the shifts, the game changers, what it is, the tipping points that redefine the board. Wars, innovations, and disasters are examples of that. What so are another example, specific ones, is the Gutenberg's printing press that was in 10450 didn't just spread ideas, it shifted power by breaking the church monopoly on knowledge. A lesson was so shifts often start with ignored technology or crisis. The example is the 30s radio created the Nazi propaganda. Why it matters? So it's good to understand this mental model to make solid interpretations about history and to avoid anachronisms. And what is the anachronism? Is 78% of people judge the past through modern values. Example is why didn't humans lead empires? The reality is that in the past it existed patriarchal systems. Predict collapse. Empires fall when systems can adapt to shifts like Rome versus the barbarian migrations, more inflation as was happening in that economy. And debunking extremists is as well, it's important because with this mental model, we can, for example, understand that nationalists cherry pick events like glorifying battles while erasing context, like the colonialism, that's the bad thing that people tend to say that it's bad. So what are the real world applications? It's good because you can analyze a leader's rise, like the context. Post 2008 economic crisis, the humans obviously fear of other ones. The fear in humans you can look, so the fear of others like the immigrants, the elites, the systems, social media amplified polarization. And with all that, what you have, you can understand better the context that you are. If you look at the context, the humans, the systems, the shifts, and as well the humans and pounds that you have, you kind of get a lot better. So the comprehension about so why the environment is the way that it is. So I expect these videos make you gain more insights. I expect this was enough to make like this video, to subscribe and see other ones that may trigger your interest. With that much more to say, just thank you and see you in the next one.